Okay.
That's okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Got a Case of Wanderlust podcast. I'm with a special guest today. We're with Maya Dominica, and she is at On Maya Away, ONMAIAWAY on Instagram. And we connected through a event with Chelsea Kawai, who's another influencer on Instagram. And I thought it'd be really cool to talk to Maya about her experience in Australia because she is originally from New Jersey and went to school in Rhode Island. So can you tell us like how you ended up where you are now?
Sure. Okay, so I'm from New Jersey, and I went to school in at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. Originally, my plan was to study abroad in China, but the program was discontinued. So my friend offered to go with him to Australia, and I was like, okay. And so I did 6 months in the University of Wollongong. It's a little like 45 minutes to an hour south of Sydney. And that was 6 months, and I loved it. And I wish I kind of stayed and graduated from there, but I decided to go back to Rhode Island and to graduate. And then COVID kind of happened. And after COVID, I did work as a registered behavior technician, which was the major that I graduated with. Um, and then I decided afterwards I wasn't going to wait any longer to travel. And with an American passport, you can have 3 working holiday visas in Australia. And in between each working holiday visa, if you do 88 days of regional work or hospitality work, you can earn and apply for a second visa. And in between the second to the third visa, you have to do 6 months of regional work or hospitality. And I'm on my last working holiday visa now. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to try to stay in Australia um, and apply for permanent residency, but I'm not so sure because school, as an American, I feel like it's going to Australia for school is cheaper. But right now, on a working holiday visa, it's a little bit harder to pay for school. So I'll see how that works out.
Okay, so you have to have like a specific you're you get the visa through specific work industries. Like you can't just go and do anything you want.
You can go actually and do anything you want.
Oh.
Um, as so your first year, you're brand new, you arrive in Australia, and you can do anything, any job. You can do food and beverage and work in a restaurant. With that, you have to get an RSA. So you can't just like at home in the US, you can just go and apply and be a waitress. But here you have to take, it's like maybe a day course and then a test at the end. It's super easy and it's maybe around $100. It's just saying that you're responsible for serving alcohol. You can do that. You can work in retail. You can work in social media. I'm working in hospitality in Tasmania right now, but that's just because I've I've made this my home now. It's comfortable, and friends have become family. And where I'm at in Tasmania counts as regional work and hospitality. So I came back for my 88 days and 6 months here. But you can do anything. I could quit and just travel if I wanted to. As long as you have the money, it's okay.
Okay. And would you say it's difficult for an American to move to Australia, like logistic wise?
I think, okay, so I was super nervous the first time I arrived. It was maybe 2022, 2023, and I cried. For the first 2 weeks, I cried because I thought I was going to come here. I knew I was going to get a hostel at first. Um, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get a hostel for 2 weeks. I'm going to find a place to live. I'm going to get a job. But it was a lot harder than I thought. I landed in Sydney first, and Sydney is like a super big hub for backpackers. And at the time I was coming, it was October, so it's just the beginning of summer, so everybody's here for summer. So I cried in the hostel for 2 weeks because I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find a house. everything in Sydney was so expensive. Um, but I did end up getting a job. I worked at a gelato shop for the first 3 months living in a hostel, and I made really great friends. And I'm actually one of the girls who I first met in Australia. I just got her a job in Tasmania, so she's actually my housemate as well. So it's funny how it's a full circle. I came to Australia. I worked between my first and second year, and now this is my third working holiday visa, and now I'm back living again with her, which is kind of cool. Even though Australia is such a big country, I think that it's just such a small community of backpackers that it's really nice to communicate with everybody.
Like a full circle moment there. That's so cute. And oh my gosh, just I could relate so much to everything you just said about not expecting it to be so hard when you first move abroad. That was definitely my experience coming to Madrid, and I know many others share this experience. Like the more people I talk to who have actually moved abroad, the more I realize it's a normal thing. And the glorification of moving abroad is definitely I think like portrayed on social media, like reality versus what you see online. So I
Yes,
just
for
wanted
sure.
to, yes, I am with you on your experience. And would you say like the most difficult part was just the adjusting to a different environment, or were there some cultural shocks from coming from the US to Australia?
I think there are definitely some culture shocks. So they drive on the opposite side of the road, and their steering wheel is on the opposite side of the car. So that's a little bit was a little bit tricky for me at first. I didn't drive until maybe in the like mid of my first year visa, so I had some time to adjust. But even just crossing the streets, like the way you look at which way the cars are coming, I have to kind of think in my head which way to look first so I don't get hit by a car. Um, so things like that, just some of their like their lingo, like takeaway would be like I'd be like, "Oh, can I have my food to go at home?" But like here it'd be like, "Oh, can I have it takeaway?"
Mm.
Um, like a car park is a parking lot. It's just like
Oh,
it's just some things are a little bit different than us, but I think the things that they say make sense. Some of their things I don't really understand, and I have to like really listen to what they're saying. But I like it. Also, I feel like as cultural, they don't tip here.
mm.
Like I feel like America is such a big, heavy tipping culture that here we don't have to. Everything's included, which is nice.
That is so nice. It takes like computing the actual price of things so much easier because it's just what it says is what it is. And
Yeah.
I hate that about America. It's like you always have to factor in, okay, this is going to be at least an extra like $10 if you're in a
Yeah,
restaurant, for
so
example.
different. Grocery stores also are different. Like, I feel like if you had a container of eggs or like water bottles or something, I feel like when I go to the grocery store, well, I call it food store, but maybe just this like my family's thing. But at the grocery store, food store, like if you need something, you just like open the package and you pay for it. I feel like if I did that at home, they'd be like, "What the heck are you doing?"
So you like open it to eat it in the grocery store, you mean?
Like, if it's like a carton of like water bottle, like a package of water bottles, and you only need a few, I've seen people just like take it out of the plastic wrapping and you just pay for it individually.
Um, okay, okay.
I don't think I
Instead
do
of
that.
needing to buy it in bulk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that home in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's all these little things, right, that you don't anticipate before relocating that kind of just aggravate to like, whoa, this is really different, like kind of disorienting at first. How long
Yeah.
would you say it took you to adjust to make it feel like it was home for you?
Maybe like a month or two. It was a lot of crying and didn't know what I was doing at first, but after I made a few friends, actually the girl who's living with me now, like I literally remembered walking down the hostel staircase and she was outside sitting in the back and I was like, "Hi, I'm Maya. Do you want to be friends?" And that's how we became friends. And she was like my first friend in Sydney and we actually I got a job at the gelato shop and then she was there for a few more weeks and she didn't have a job and she actually worked with me in the gelato shop as well.
Oh my
That's just
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, making friends doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as approaching a stranger and saying
Yeah.
hi.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a little more intimidating too as like an adult. Like it's just
Mm,
there's not always like social settings or like as a kid you have such an imagination and so open and as I feel like you grow up a little bit sometimes it's not people aren't as open or maybe it's just the settings that I'm in that aren't as open. But I feel like definitely in a hostel, everybody's traveling. Everybody has
mm.
this mindset and like hobbies and interests. So it's really nice to meet people from all over.
That's so true. I feel like hostels really create an environment where connections are really very easy because everyone is there to meet other people. I mean, that's the primary
Mhm.
appeal of hostels besides the cheapness of them. Um, but would you say you found friends mostly by just putting yourself out there, saying hi, or was there certain apps or groups that you joined to make friends?
I think a majority of my friends when I first landed in Sydney was in a hostel. But most hostels I feel like are. I decided to go to Coogee. It's kind of near, there's a Bondi, which is like the famous, like iconic Instagram famous place. I feel like if you want to come to Australia and it's beautiful, but I like Coogee a little bit more. I feel like it's a little more family compared to Bondi. Um, and it's just a lot of people are outgoing there and everybody loves to go to the beach. So to make friends, we literally just I made friends with this one girl and then the next person we saw, we're like, oh, we're going to the beach. Do you want to come? And we formed like our own little friend group from that. And it just grew and grew. And I actually talked to them, even though it was like almost 3 years ago now. And we still kind of keep in touch, and it's really nice.
That's awesome. Would you say people in Australia are generally more outgoing or friendly than other cultures? Because I feel like when I meet Australians in hostels or something when I travel, they're always like the most friendly, open people.
Yeah, I would say so. I think they're super, I don't know, it's just like a different vibe. I feel like they're just like ready and to do anything. Like, how do I explain it? Like they're just open minded. I feel like at home, especially in New Jersey where I am, like I'm so close to the city, I feel like it's just their way and like everybody's busy, but I feel like
Mm.
here they take the time to actually know you and it's really nice.
Is it more like, because you're so close by the coast, more of like a beach vibe thing? Everyone's kind of chill, like easygoing, no
Yeah,
rush kind of mentality.
yeah. I think depending what city you're in or even town that you're in Australia, like Sydney compared to Melbourne, which is like another big city down south, people are like, do you like Sydney or Melbourne better? Because they kind of just pick between the two. I like Sydney, but I feel like Sydney people are like more business and like they're almost like New York City. But I don't know because New York City can be like business, but then also have the creative side to it. Where like Melbourne is, I feel like more culture and arts and music and creative. And Sydney is more business. But Sydney has way better beaches, I think.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah,
What's your favorite side of Australia then? The Sydney side.
Sydney, definitely.
Okay.
But Tasmania's grown on me. I didn't think I was gonna, in my brain, I was like, okay, I'm gonna come to Australia. I'm gonna land in Sydney. I'm gonna get an apartment and a job. And then I'm going to do my 88 days between my first to second visa so I can apply for my second visa. But I ended up coming to Tasmania and I stayed for 5 months. So it's way longer than my 88 days requirement. But here where I live in Freycinet, and it's a combination of beautiful blue, clear, like shades of blue ocean, but we also have mountains in the back, so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
It looks gorgeous on your Instagram feed. Like your pictures look amazing.
So Freycinet is actually a national park in Tasmania, and I think eventually, like when I tell people I'm living in Tasmania, I feel like it'd be like the equivalent of, no offense to everybody who lives in Florida, but like the state Florida, like no one, like they're just their own little
Yeah.
thing, like part down there. But Tasmania is actually really beautiful, and I think definitely over the years that it's going to become even more touristy. Like right now, it's so precious and like untouched that like not a lot of people do come because it's a national park. But even now with the town that I live in, like there's just open empty lots. And from year 1 to now year 3, there are so many houses being built. So it's definitely going to be a spot for people to go to.
Mm. Do you have any specific advice or tips for people wanting to travel to this part of Australia or maybe Australia in general? Maybe things we should know?
I think you should do it. I was completely petrified. I'm gonna be honest, like I even like my Instagram stories, like it's just social media is hard because you see all the good things on social media, but you don't see the struggles. And I honestly have so much anxiety, but I do share it on Instagram on some story posts and actually my posts in feed as well. But you would never know how much anxiety I have when traveling. It's more likely traveling home than traveling in Australia, but I think you should do it. There's not a lot of requirements. I think it's like you have to be 18. Maybe I don't remember the age, but it's like 18 to 30 is what we can do with a working holiday visa, and you just have to show you have like $5,000 in your bank, and like a few other documents, and then you just apply. And within seconds, I got my visa back and approved, and it was super easy. And if you want to come to Australia, I think definitely come to Australia. It's such a beautiful place, and the beaches are gorgeous. The people are so much fun. Um, and it's one of my favorite places.
Do you feel like you've really found your place there?
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
beautiful.
love that. That's amazing. I have yet to find my place, but I know I'll find it somewhere, right? Like the more you travel, the more closer you get to where to what calls to your heart the most. And I guess that
Yeah.
could change, right? Do you plan on staying in Australia? Do you think maybe the rest of your life, or is there anywhere else you'd like to move to?
I would love to. I'm also up in the air of trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be living. And I know that it can always change, but I think Australia is home right now, and I feel like home is different for everybody. Home for me is somewhere that I can feel comfortable with, and home is somewhere where family is. So it's a toss up between the two because every time I talk to my family or post on Instagram or something, I'd be like, home or something like that. And my parents have
Mm,
always made the comment that, like, it's, oh, like, this is your home. And it is my home too, but home is somewhere I feel safe and comfortable. And I've made this place safe and comfortable. So I'm trying to figure it out. I would
yeah.
love, the dream would to be to have PR or dual citizenship between Australia and the US. But I'm not sure if my family was here in Australia, I would 100% stay and not even like think about going
Mm.
back to the US. But my all my family is in the US. So
Mm. And
it's
I would bet they're not planning to come live with
no,
you to relocate.
no, it's super far. I don't blame them. It's at least like a 26-hour journey
Oh shit.
to come here. It's pretty far, and the time difference is
Whew.
huge.
Yeah, it's like complete opposite because you're about to get ready for bed. I don't know, and I
Yeah,
just woke up
and
basically.
they're just, yeah. So they're just waking up. So sometimes it is hard to find a time that works for both of us to either FaceTime or talk. Um, but it's also much easier now with technology today that we have FaceTime, because if it was just a phone call, I think it'd be even harder.
Yeah. Would you say that like before this stage in your life, did you ever picture yourself where you are now? Like, was Australia the plan, the dream?
No. In my brain, like 17-year-old me was going to be like married by early 20s, have kids,
Oh
have a
my
job.
gosh.
Like I wanted a house in New York, or at least on the East Coast and
Mm.
the West Coast. I don't have a house in either coast. I don't have a job. I don't have a house. But I kind of like this lifestyle, and it's funny because I'm 26 years old, and it's so funny that my friends are on a different page than me now, like the ones that I grew up with and went to college with. And I love their journey and watching them on social media and catching up. But I feel like I'm on such a completely different path than them now. So almost like I want to say I'm a backpacker, I guess, but I'm a horrible backpacker. I'm the girl that brings like 7 suitcases with her and overpacks 3 suitcases for a 2-day trip. But it's almost easier to make connections with the other people in the hostel or travelers, because most likely they're kind of in the same life cycle or step as you, where they're not ready to settle down just quite yet. And it's interesting to see the difference between, and I love talking to my friends at home, but I feel like almost sometimes it can relate a little bit more where I am right now in my life to the people who I'm meeting when I'm traveling.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Everyone has different life journeys, life paths. And
Yeah.
yours led you here, even though you didn't
Yeah.
plan for it.
No, not at all.
Um, so just remaining rapid fire questions, you could call it. What would be your dream destination to travel to next?
Well, I don't know if it was your Instagram or somebody's. It was some creators or influencers thing, and they were like, "Where's your dream? If somebody gave you a ticket tomorrow, where would you pick?" And honestly, I have no idea. Not because I do have a long list of places I want to visit, but I'm so happy and content right now. But if I had to pick, is it a country that I haven't been to, or can I
Yeah, I guess it could be
just,
anything. Yeah.
I would say go back to Japan.
Mm.
Yeah.
My next question would be, what's a memorable meal you've had?
In Japan or in anywhere.
Mm, in Japan, or you could also pick a different memory that calls to you.
Hmm. Ramen in Japan, or gyoza, or I forget what it's called, but they have like rice and you put like an omelet egg on top of it, and I get it a lot in Japan. I don't know what it's called, but it's
Oh,
really good.
I know what you mean. I forget the name too.
I don't know what the name is for it, but that's so good.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I heard the food in Japan, I mean, it's known for its cuisine. And then last question is, what's a special place in your heart? It could be a city, a country, or a specific location.
Um, I would say, hmm, French Polynesia.
Ooh. That's one of my
I
dream destinations.
it's it's gorgeous, and if I had to pick like top few countries, French Polynesia would be like one of them up there. It is so beautiful. The water is so clear, but it also has mountains. It kind of gives like a Hawaii vibe, but the coral is so alive and vibrant. And I've convinced my friend, but this is a little off track, but I, after graduating college and trying to figure out adult life jobs, I quit and became a nanny. And during that nannying job, or during COVID, I found this influencer and content creator. Her name is Sarah or Says, and she's did a lot of content in the Maldives, and she was hosting a retreat. And that's when I first met her, and their retreat was amazing. But I met one of the girls. Her name is Aaliyah, and she's from Virginia. And we were the two youngest people on the trip. Everybody else was not like way older than us, but maybe like
They were like more
three,
established in
three
their
or 4
lives.
years. Yeah, 3 or 4 years older than us.
Yeah.
But so I met her on that trip, and then before coming to Australia, I convinced her to come with me to French Polynesia, and we did like you can also do it so budget friendly. Like we rented a car and just like did Moorea and Tahiti and stayed in little hostels and Airbnbs, and it doesn't have to be as expensive as Instagram and everybody makes it out to be. And that was one of my favorite trips is French Polynesia. And I think we went during whale season, and there were so many humpback
Ooh,
whales, and you could hear them sing. And there was
oh my
like
God.
as they swim past you, the water gets so warm from their bodies, and it was just so magical to listen and to see them. They're so huge.
That is, that sounds absolutely magical. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Maya. Where can we find you? What's your Instagram? I already said, but are there any other places?
So I've tried to start a new TikTok, but I haven't really posted there. But I'm also the same handle as on my away, and we'll see how that goes. I have to be more consistent in posting. I feel like that's the biggest problem that I have. I have these little inspiration or creative bursts, especially at night, and when I'm supposed to be sleeping. And then I feel like then I'm like, oh, I don't know what else I'm supposed to be posting. But yeah, on my way on Instagram and then possibly TikTok when I get my act together on that one.
That's relatable too. It can be so discouraging though, like figuring out the algorithms and being
I just
constantly online. But you seem like you're
yeah,
doing a great job. Your
thank
Instagram
you.
is pop and grow. Like
Thank you.
I approve.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much again, Maya, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Gotta Case One of Us podcast. Again, my name is Lydia, and you can find me on social media in the About section of this podcast. Please rate and review if you found value or insight from this, and I hope to see you in the next episode.